22-year-old Justin Clausen is suing the mother of his daughter, 22-year-old Tiffany Harron, for the return of a TV and home theater system. Tiffany claims Justin abandoned the property.
That's case number 151 on the calendar in the matter of Clausen versus Harron. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ladies, have a seat, please.
Ms. Harron, while I have a busy day today, and I'm not going to make you leave the courtroom, I'm going to suggest that the next time you appear in court, you are more appropriately dressed. Do we understand each other?
Sorry, Your Honor.
You're not going to a beach party today. Today you come to court. When you come to court, you come appropriately dressed. We understand each other?
Definitely.
Good. Now, Mr. Clausen, you and the defendant have a child together.
Yes, Your Honor.
And it is your complaint that when you separated some time ago, you left your television set and entertainment center with Ms. Harron.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you want those items back.
Yes,
because you say you paid for them, and you're still paying for them.
Yes.
Ms. Harron says you left her not only with the child, but with a whole stack of bills, and she paid as many payments as you did on that television set and entertainment center. They don't belong to you. They belong to her. When did the two of you separate, sir?
We separated in January of '04.
And when was the television purchased?
In September of '03.
And the entertainment center?
As well, at the same time. And the TV stand as well.
You moved out of the house, sir, in January of 2004?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you left the television set and entertainment center there?
Yes, I took everything else that I could, but I did not have a truck to take that.
Well, between January 2004 and June of 2005, I assume that you could have gotten a truck.
Yes, Your Honor.
But you didn't.
I did. I called the police. She wouldn't let me get it. I called the police and they said...
The first time that you asked for it was what date?
A couple days after that, I was like, hey, can I get it back? She said, no. Too bad.
Okay, fine. When did you first file a claim against her in small claims court, which you did in order to initiate this case for the return of your TV and entertainment center?
I have it right here when I went.
What's the date?
The date is 3/15 of '05.
So I'm going to ask you, where were you for 14 months?
Yeah, I'm trying to become a firefighter. And I was going to school 4 or 5 days a week, and I just didn't have any time for that at all. And taking
Well,
care
what
of
are you doing now?
Now, I took some time off because we went through a bunch of custody hearings for our child.
One custody hearing.
Shh,
Mediation, meeting lawyers, and everything else.
Just a second. So you took time off for that?
Yes.
And when was the custody case ultimately decided?
3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago.
Give me the date.
May 18th.
Yes, Your Honor.
And at what stage of the proceedings were the custody and visitation and support case in at the time that you filed the small claims court case?
I filed it right after that.
Right after what?
After we went to mediation, I filed for small claims court on...
Well, what happened at mediation?
I tried taking it through mediation. She wouldn't have anything to do with it. Her mother said that she would pay me $1,500 for it, but she...
What are you talking about?
May I say something?
Yes.
In mediation, he took my daughter from a family member's house, which happens to be my cousin's mother. He wouldn't let me see my daughter, so I went down and I filed custody papers. They granted me full temporary custody.
When was that?
In March.
In March, and it was right after that that he filed the small claims court case.
That is correct, and it was the day that he was ordered to pay me child support that he served me the papers for the small claims
Tell him
court.
why.
Excuse me?
I was going to have him tell her. Excuse me, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
I didn't ask you anything. Now, on what date did you take your daughter from this lady's house?
I'm not sure of the date, Your Honor.
Well, if you're not sure of the date, she is. What was the date?
March 15th.
Yes, madam. You want to get up and say something?
Yes, I do.
You're exploding.
Yes, it was March 23rd
What was March 23rd?
that the baby was removed from the cousin's house because we had a phone call.
She was
Shh, don't speak.
We had a phone call from a bounty hunter looking for Tiffany. And
Yeah.
the bounty hunter stated that he needed to get hold of her and that the guy that they're looking for was a drug dealer. So her family told Justin to go get Kea. And that's why Justin went and got Kea.
Her father and her...
Just a second. There was a hearing, ultimately.
Yes,
Is that
Your Honor.
right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And at the hearing, who was awarded custody?
She was. I did not have any paternity tests.
Have you had one now?
No, the court did not order me one. They
Why
said,
not?
I have no idea. They just said that, okay, well, are you willing to take care of this baby if it is or not yours? I said yes. So therefore, no paternity test still, but I am
Did you ask for a paternity test?
Yes, Your Honor. And they didn't really do anything about it.
He actually filled out the paperwork and everything.
In
They
the
were
courts.
served to me in court when we had our custody hearing.
Oh, fine. Very good. So right now there has been no legal adjudication of paternity. Is that right? Because you haven't had the paternity test.
Exactly.
Your Honor,
Okay.
they made him sign a paper that said that that he didn't have to take a paternity test. That basically, when we went to court on May 18th, they were granting him he was the father without the paternity test.
Is that what they did?
Yes.
That was very stupid on your part. Mr. Clausen, I'd always take a paternity test, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
You never can tell.
But that little girl is my whole life. I love her more than anything in the world.
Great. Listen to me. Did you live together?
Yes, Your Honor, we did.
For how long?
4 years?
2 years.
Was it 2
Huh?
years?
Yeah, 2 years.
2 years at our other house in 6 months, so 3, 2.5, almost 3. We were together for a while.
Is this your son? If you can have a paternity test, if you were my son, I would say have one. Giving you my good advice. That's the last thing of good advice you're going to get from me. You left the television in the entertainment center with her for 14 months, sir.
I did, and I kick myself in the butt for it every day.
But you have
So-
an agreement.
But the other thing was that if she was to move out, I would be able to get it back. And she says, well, it comes in a package. If you take me back, then I get her and the TV back.
And?
And I don't want that deal.
Why not, sir?
Because he'd rather have his 17-year-old girlfriend.
Shh. Don't interrupt again.
Sorry.
I let you slide with the outfit, not with the conduct. Go ahead.
Because, Your Honor, it's just how I've caught her at some guy's house, and it's just wrong, and I don't want to have that lifestyle.
Well, very good. You see why I suggested you get a paternity test, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You went and bought clothes on his Sears account for yourself?
I did buy things for the baby.
You didn't. According to you, you bought cami things for you. Cami in white, cami in pink. Maybe this
Shirt
one.
to be exact.
And later today,
Miss Bass, you got to understand something. You may waltz around me, but ultimately, I'm going to get to the truth.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Justin Clausen says the mother of his daughter, Tiffany Harem, owes for the return of property and credit card charges made without his permission.
Now, you get a paternity test, sir. What you don't get is a television and an entertainment center that you left there for 14 months. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Madam, you could sit down.
Thank you.
Get over the television and get over the entertainment center. After 14 months, they're abandoned property. You left them there. I assume that your daughter is watching the television set? The one that you
No,
left?
it's in storage. It's sitting in storage.
Is that sitting in storage?
No, it's not, Your Honor.
Where is it?
It's in my house. In my bedroom, to be exact.
If you would like to call her father would say that it's in the storage. It's underneath his name.
I'm not calling her father. I'm telling you, get over it. Thus far, the order was that she has custody and you have visitation and everything is nice, even though custody didn't end up the way you wanted it to end up, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
That doesn't mean that you try to exacerbate an otherwise relatively calm situation by filing a small claims court 14 months after the fact for a television set.
Well, that was
It's
not
stupid.
That was not the only thing, though. She went to Sears and purchased some stuff on my credit card.
Oh, I'd like to
As
see
well.
that.
Here's the receipt.
You went and bought clothes on his Sears account for yourself?
It's in my name as well, Your Honor.
I don't care if it's on your name. Did you discuss it with him first?
No, it's my credit card, too.
Your Honor,
It's
Who's
both-
paying the bill?
We both paid the bill.
No.
Excuse me, Your Honor. I paid the bill before he moved out for over 2 years.
I'm talking about now. This sales
and I offered
check
to pay him.
is dated March 11th, 2005. Well, why all of a sudden did you start using this credit card?
I went one time and
Well, you have to pay for it.
because I feel that I have paid my fair share of all of his credit cards, and I have them here.
Listen to me very carefully, madam. I have no counterclaim. All I have is somebody who, after a year and a half, went in and used a credit card just to give him one of these zingers, knowing that you weren't going to pay the bill and he was going to get stuck with it. And I would feel a little bit more compassionate towards you if you bought things for the baby. But you
I
didn't.
did buy things for the baby.
You
Your Honor.
didn't. According to you, you bought cami things for you. Cami in white, cami in pink. Maybe this
Shirt
one.
to be exact.
that you get paid for. So a judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $204.81. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's a good dad. He was there all through my pregnancy and, and still is for her.
I will continue being a great father.
We were very young. We've been together for a long time, 6 years.
For her, she'll probably keep being a good mother.
We had a lot of growing to do. We're different people now than we were, but definitely still both good people.
Is suing her boyfriend's half-brother, 26-year-old Timothy Harpster, for stealing her car. Timothy says the car was in his name.
All right, Miss Bass. This gentleman was your boyfriend's brother. Still your boyfriend?
Yes.
This is the boyfriend?
Yes.
Were you all living together?
Yes.
And according to your complaint, you had a car.
Mm-hmm.
Your insurance was very expensive.
Correct.
Why was your insurance so expensive?
Because I was only 20, so my insurance was really high. And my policy was about to expire, so Tim had given the offer to put it in his name.
Okay. It's your car, and you're going to be driving it.
Primarily, yes.
And in order to get cheaper insurance, you signed the car over to him.
Not only that, we were all living together, and Tim's car was about to get taken because he didn't pay on it, so I was driving his and he was driving mine. And we would all be driving each other's cars, and so he had to put it in his name.
So then it was really all of your car. Everybody paid their fair share of gas and maintenance on it and everything
No, I
else?
paid the maintenance.
Everybody paid gas for the car?
Well, what we drove, we put in gas and stuff, and
You're not,
paid.
Miss Bass, you got to understand something. You may waltz around me, but ultimately, I'm going to get to the truth.
Okay,
You understand?
sure.
What you did was defraud the insurance company. That was your intent.
No,
Your intent was, oh yes, your intent was that it was really your car, because that's why you're here. That's why you're here. It was really your car. You put it in his name for insurance purposes, because if he took out the insurance, it would be cheaper. And then, when you all had a falling out, he took the car, and you want your car back. That's what the case is about. So it wasn't all of your cars, it was your car. That's what you're suing for, right?
right.
Okay. So what you really did was, when you put the car in his name, which he acknowledges, and he acknowledges that it was put in your name for insurance purposes, right?
Yes.
You didn't pay her anything for the car, did you?
No.
She didn't make you a present of the car, did she?
No.
It was put in your name for one reason only, to defraud the insurance company, right?
Yes.
Now, when did you stop living together?
In February.
Who moved out?
I did.
What'd you do with the car?
Well, it sat at the house. I moved out on the 1st of February, and shortly after that, Justine, my brother, I guess, moved out of the house.
When?
As of, I think it was March, around March 1st.
When did you move out?
We moved out on March 1st.
And?
I actually had some problems with Justine and my brother trying to get some of the things, my belongings, back out of the house. Finally, I did get to pick up the motorcycle that was left in the garage.
I don't care about your things. That's not for me,
Right.
sir. What happened to the car?
Like I said, we had gotten into some arguments and things. I didn't take the car until almost the end of March. The car was left at the house.
In the old house?
Yeah, they actually moved out and didn't take the car with them.
Is that right?
And it sat
We
there.
couldn't. The title was not in my name, and it would be considered stolen, and the cops would have been called, and I would have gotten in trouble.
So you left the car there?
Had to.
So you left the car there?
Yes.
After you moved out on March 1st, when did you contact him?
For what?
For your car back?
I had tried calling him, and he wouldn't answer the phone. Tom had tried calling him, and he wouldn't speak to us. And so
You wanted some stuff from the house.
he already got it.
What'd you do with the car, Mr. Harpster?
I sold it, actually.
To whom?
A friend of mine.
Show me. Show me
Sure.
proof that you sold it.
I don't even have proof, but I did, though.
When did you sell it?
3 weeks ago. Actually, I didn't even have a problem with giving them back the title for their car. I didn't want their car. I could care less about that car, but when I asked them for the rest of the things back, such as the key for the motorcycle that was left in the garage, they started a big problem. So
So you
I
sold
moved-
the car.
No, not necessarily.
How much did you get for it?
$900.
What year car was it?
92 Acura.
How many miles did it have on it?
117,000.
Can I get the blue book on a 1992 Acura? Bird, it's a hatchback.
Yes.
Let's put it in fair condition, please.
What kind of car is it?
Integra GSR.
It wasn't a GSR. It was a GS.
GS.
Fair condition, 1625.
Could I take a look? That's the G. You have to teach me how to do this thing.
She has an Integra. There's the Integra list. 92 Acura.
Right, a GS.
Right, and then the GS. And then she has a GS hatchback. So 1625 on fair condition.
Your Honor.
What is it, sir?
As Tim's saying, that car is a GS. The GSR was it was a special edition. It was a only came in the hatchback. The car was a hatchback. If he had the title.
Only a difference of $100, sir. Listen, you have to consider yourself very, very lucky that I'm even considering any part of your claim, because usually when people come into a court with not clean hands, I throw them out.
I understand what you were saying as far as the defrauding insurance company, but the fact is that Tim was primarily driving that car. His car was often parked.
Let me explain something to you. You want me to read you what your girlfriend said in her complaint?
Well, I've read it.
You want me to read
myself.
you? Okay. The insurance policy on my car was about to expire, and Tim said he could put it on his policy so that I could get a cheaper rate. That's why she says that you put the car in his name,
That was
to
not
get
the-
a cheaper rate. That's fraud on the insurance company, sir. Any way you slice it. You're very, very fortunate that I'm considering any part of your claim. Certainly not worth $2,800. I don't believe that you got $900 for it. I'm not even sure that it's still not sitting in your driveway someplace.
No, it isn't. I did sell it.
And you sold it because you were angry over your property.
No, actually, I sold it because I asked them, I would have gave them the car back. Yes, I was upset about my property.
So why don't you just say yes?
Yes, I was upset
Instead
about
of
that.
excuses. So you were angry that they wouldn't give you the key to your motorcycle and the other things that
Your
you
Honor,
want. You said,
may
I'm
I?
speaking. So you said, car's in my name, and according to your answer, you said I could do whatever I want with it.
Plus,
That's what
also,
you
it
said.
was left there, yes.
That's what you said. Car's in my name, I can do whatever I want with it. Right?
Yes.
Your Honor, we did leave the car there, but what were we supposed to do? Remove
You
the
were
car?
supposed to do exactly what you did now, sir, which is immediately go to small claims court there and have a case that was heard sometime the beginning of March. That's what you're supposed to do.
Well, I was also speaking to other family members of mine, my brother Jim, who is an older brother than both of us. He was also speaking to him because we are family and we didn't want to have to resort to this, you know.
But ultimately you did.
Had to.
That's we had taken
Right.
everything else we could. And
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,700. That's all. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 138 on the calendar in the matter of Lyons versus Lyons. Party's been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated.
Ms. Lyons, the defendant is your soon-to-be former daughter-in-law. She and your son have one child together.
Yes.
And according to your complaint, you believe she should be responsible for paying all of your legal fees and other expenses as a result of false charges that you claim she filed against you. Ms. Lyons says that while she did file charges against you, your conduct warranted those charges. It was a terrible experience that you and your family put her through, and she's going to describe it to me. So I think we're going to start with you.
Okay.
How long have you and Mrs. Lyons' son been married?
We've been married for almost 2 years now.
He is currently incarcerated, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what I read here, and he's incarcerated because according to at least what I surmise, he was on probation
Yes, ma'am.
when this incident occurred, and as a result of this incident, he was put back into jail to finish his sentence. He had already served part of his sentence. Is that right, madam?
Yes.
What was he incarcerated for? Do you know?
Originally, when he was 17, he was involved in a crime. It was a robbery.
Is that the only time he was arrested?
Yes. But the only time in his whole life, I'm sorry, misunderstood.
Yes, the only time in his whole life.
No, and well, in his
How
adult
old is he
life-
now?
He will be 21 in July.
Between 17 and 21, how many times was he arrested, Miss Lyons?
He was violated on probation when he reported to his probation officer because he failed a drug test for marijuana. Then this incident was the next time.
When he was violated, did he go back to prison?
He did. He went into a drug rehab program.
For how long?
6 months.
And then this incident,
Yes, ma'am.
which sent him back to prison for how many years?
22 months.
Okay. Now, according to what I read in your answer, when your husband came out of his drug rehab, everything was okay? I mean, you were separated. You weren't together anymore.
Correct.
Is that right? But he was seeing your son?
Yes, he was.
What happened?
My roommate and I, we were going through some financial problems at that time, and I was not getting any kind of support from Richard, so I was pretty much forced to move to Gainesville with my brother until I got on my feet again, and then that's when Tanya and I had moved.
When did you move to Gainesville?
I believe it was between June 25th and June 30th.
According to you, you called the next day and let your husband know where you were living.
That's correct.
What happened next?
He got very furious on the telephone and basically started yelling at me and threatening me, telling me that when he got hold of Jeremy, I would not see him anymore, and just made a lot of verbal threats and did a lot of name calling.
Now we're going to get to this incident that caused the problem, Mrs. Lyons. Why don't you tell me what happened?
Well, we sought counsel with a family law lawyer who advised us that because Lindsay and Richard were still married, because there was no case in court, he had as much legal right to his son as she did. And we decided Wednesday night that we would go Thursday to pick up Jeremy in Gainesville.
Who did Jeremy live with during the 6 months that your son was in drug rehab?
He lived primarily with his mother.
And before he went into drug rehab, was he working?
Yes, he was.
What kind of work was he doing?
He was helping his father. My husband was doing maintenance work. We ran an apartment complex.
So he wasn't doing much?
Actually, he was also working a sales job.
So he was working a lot?
Yes, ma'am.
And who was watching Jeremy while he was working a lot?
Well, if Lindsay was not working at that time, we were watching. If Lindsay was not working, she was watching.
Right.
If she was working, we watched.
So let's get the story straight, Miss Lyons. So the child is 2 years old, and his primary physical caretaker during those 2 years has been his mother. And you, your husband, and your son decided after you spoke to a lawyer to go and physically retrieve the child from his mother. That's what you decided to do.
Yes.
Tell me what happened.
We arrived at her brother's house, which was a small trailer that had 3 other adults and an infant child living there as well. Her brother's girlfriend, Amanda, answered the door, told us that Lindsay and Tanya and Jeremy had gone on the city bus downtown and to sell their blood for money. They were broke. So we went to the nearest bus stop. We saw Lindsay and Tanya and Jeremy coming up the road. Richard got out of the car, crossed the street to their side of the road. Lindsay handed Jeremy to Richard.
Excuse me, that is incorrect.
Just a second. Okay. Go ahead.
They stood there and talked for a few moments. And after a few moments, Richard turned and walked across the street to where we were parked.
Because you were going to take the baby.
We were going to visit with the baby.
No, that's not what you told me a moment ago. What you told me a moment ago was
yes,
you were going to take
the
the baby
for visitation. Yes, ma'am.
Baloney!
I'm sorry.
You weren't taking him for a visit. You were taking him back to where you lived so that when you had a custody case, you would have physical custody. The child would be in the physical custody of his father. I've been in this business a long time.
Yes, ma'am, I know you have.
So don't try to sugarcoat it. It was your intention to go there. You waited for them at the bus stop to take the child.
Yes.
Now continue as to what happened.
Well, Lindsay came across the street. She screamed at Richard.
What did she scream?
The first thing I heard was, "You're not taking my son." And he wrapped his arms around the baby, turned around to protect him. She was pulling on Jeremy's arm. The next thing I heard was, "GD, Richard, get off my son." Her lover jumped on Richard. My husband got out of the car, pushed her off of Richard. She said something to him. He said, "Don't hit me." Got in the car.
Your husband was ultimately convicted, correct?
Of a misdemeanor.
He was convicted. Misdemeanor is a crime.
Yes, ma'am, I know that.
Against Tanya.
Against Tanya, yes.
You were arrested.
Yes, we were.
You ultimately took the 2-year-old because you were able to get her off you. According to you, the car started and you were still hanging out of the car. Is that right?
Both Tanya and I were, yes.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You went to kidnap him. And now you're complaining that you were arrested and you had legal fees. That comes under the category of being too bad.
And later today,
She walked in, she called me and Kim in the bed together, and she just started going crazy. She was trying to cut me, cut Kim.
What was I supposed to do? Just let them continue doing what they was doing?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Deborah Lyons claims daughter-in-law Lindsay Lyons had her falsely arrested. Lindsay says Deborah tried to kidnap her 2-year-old son.
They left?
Correct.
You called the police?
Mm-hmm. I sure did.
How long did they have Jeremy in their custody before he was returned to you?
They had him about a day and a half. They had left with Jeremy. There was no car seat in the vehicle when they finally took off with him. And they, as far as I knew from what the police told me, they were arrested the very next day, and I was able to pick my son up that night.
You understand that I have no sympathy for you whatsoever.
I can tell.
The only one that I have sympathy for is this little 2-year-old.
He was a year old at the time.
I don't care if he was a year old or if he's 15 months old.
Yeah,
That's the only one that I have
Richard was part of his life, Your Honor.
Madam, Richard hadn't been part of his life for 6 months because he was in a drug rehab program.
No,
he was living with his mother. And you are pretty thick if you don't get the fact that if you have a grandchild and you want to see that grandchild and you want to be part of that grandchild's life, which is something that you enjoyed. I assume that while your son was in rehab, you saw him
Right, I took
regularly.
Jeremy to see my
regularly. So it's not as if his wife was trying to prevent you from visiting with him during the course of the 6 months immediately preceding this custodial interference. But you injected yourself, and instead of doing something that the law proposes is the appropriate way of dealing with a custody dispute, which is you go immediately to Gainesville or to Tampa, and your son files a petition for custody, and you have a hearing, you went to kidnap him. And now you're complaining that you were arrested and you had legal fees. That comes under the category of being too bad. Okay? Too bad.
Okay.
You have no case, Miss Lyons. You should have let the courts resolve this issue. Whatever you may think of your future former daughter-in-law's lifestyle doesn't impact the fact that she has been the child's primary physical caretaker. And if you want to be a good grandma, you help her.
Which I did.
And you continue to do that. How many times have you been arrested in your life?
Never.
That's one parent. The other one has been arrested for a violent crime, has been violated on probation twice, and is currently incarcerated. Judge, hearing that case? No issue.
Okay.
No issue. You have no case, Miss Lyons. It's unfortunate for you. Case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I disagree with her lifestyle choices.
I was very sad, and I knew, but my main concern was my son.
I have very strong beliefs and faiths, and I find it to be an abomination.
My gut tells me that I don't want to have anything to do with them.
She moved her lover in and just flaunted it in our face.
I don't want to put my son in that situation ever again.
My son still has father's rights, and he will sue for them, and I believe he will get them. And as long as he has rights, we will too.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Curry versus Orr. Step forward, please.
Shirley Curry is suing her son's ex-girlfriend, Nikki Orr, for trashing her home. Nikki claims she found Shirley's son in bed with another woman.
Miss Curry, I assume, based upon your complaint, that you were not at home at the time this incident occurred. Is that right?
Correct.
This is your son?
Yes.
But he was home.
Yes.
On what date did this incident occur?
The 28th of May.
And prior to that, how long had your son and Miss Orr been involved?
3 years.
And you liked her?
Yes.
She's a responsible gal?
From what I can tell.
Do you work?
No.
What do you do?
Just homemaker.
A homemaker of?
I receive SSI.
What's the nature of your disability?
Legally blind in the left eye.
Do you drive a car?
No.
How did you get to the plaintiff's house on the 28th of May?
I caught the bus from Cincinnati, Ohio to Kentucky.
How long a ride was that?
15 minutes.
Now, before you caught the bus, that 15 minutes you had been drinking?
Yes, ma'am.
A lot?
Yes, ma'am.
Why were you drinking so much?
Because I heard by a friend that he was cheating on me. So I went to go confront him.
And what did you find when you got to Miss Curry's house? You
He was
found
in the
Mr.
bed.
Hornsby there with, who were you there with, sir? That's not a smile.
Well, I was with a friend of mine.
What's her name?
Kim.
Tell me what happened, Mr. Hornsby.
First of all, she came in. The door was open. She walked in. She called me and Kim in the bed together, and she just started going crazy. She was trying to cut me, cut Kim, cut my mama furniture up, and just start cussing and acting a fool. And there wasn't even no cause for it, for real.
Did you tell Miss Orr before May 28th that you were going to see other people?
I told her that we can be friends, and if she want to be with me, that it's gonna be an open relationship. But right now, it's best that we just be friends.
Why did you tell her that after 3 years?
I met somebody that was more interesting.
Did you tell Miss Orr that you met somebody that was more interesting, or did you just tell her you wanted to be friends?
I just told her I wanted to be friends because me and Kim is friends.
Well, that was friendly if she found you in bed together. That was, I mean, you know, I have friends with Bird.
But my whole point is, if we friends, it shouldn't matter who I'm in bed with.
When you've had an intimate relationship with somebody for 3 years, do you think that she had other friends during the course of that 3 years?
I think she did.
Really?
Oh, no.
I think she did.
I'm not sure. In any event, it is your claim, Miss Curry, that Miss Orr is responsible for destroying your house.
Yes.
Miss Orr says it wasn't her, it was somebody else.
Yes.
Can I see the pictures? Ooh. Did you call the police, Mr. Hornsby?
No, because she has kids, and I didn't want to see her go to jail and have the boys messed up, so I begged my mom, because my mom wanted to call the police. As soon as she got home, she went ballistic, so I had to slow her down, stop her from calling the police.
Deontay is lying. I did not do nothing. And she lying, too. I did not tear up the furniture. I mean, I admit that I went over there, and I opened the door and went in and saw them. What was I supposed to do? Just let them continue doing what they was doing? He know he must lying.
Shh. Listen to me. Listen to me. You have any clue where you are?
Yes.
Did you hear anybody else cursing?
No.
So far?
No.
She came home, found her house destroyed. She didn't open up a fresh mouth.
But I didn't do it. He know exactly who did it. He know that girl did it. And why she did it is because she knew that he had a girlfriend.
Listen to me. Tell me what happened when you got there. Tell me what happened.
They was having sex. I opened the door, and right before my eyes, they was having sex.
Okay, so what did you do?
I started going ballistic. I started throwing stuff, tearing up stuff. But I did not tear up her living room set, and I didn't tear up her bedroom set.
When you say you went ballistic, tell me what you did.
I admit I took a knife and some scissors and started trying to go at him with it, because what was I supposed to do? You see somebody you've been with for 3 years, you see them having sex with somebody else. Plus, he didn't tell me that he had another friend in the first place.
Miss Orr, what'd you take it out on her furniture for? Why'd you take it out on him?
I didn't tear up her furniture. I mean, I admit I started...
Shh. Listen to me. You just told me. I admit I had a knife, and I admit I had a scissors, and I admit I did something, but I didn't do all this, is what you're telling me. So what I'm saying to you is, why did you do anything to her furniture? You didn't find her in bed with anybody, right?
Right.
So you lost your temper, and you didn't have control over your temper because you were very
angry
and very
upset
and very
drunk.
You have some bills for me?
Yes, I have. This is how much the furniture wasn't as good as it should be. So I had to put down $2,200 on that furniture before it was even delivered to my house.
29 years old?
Yes.
What do you do for a living?
I receive disability.
What's the nature of your disability?
I got a heart failure.
You got heart failure?
Yes.
What were you doing having sex in the middle of the afternoon on May 28th?
I ain't dead, you know what I'm saying?
Well, you know, I mean, it's just I just sort of find it interesting. Everybody's got disability. This one gets drunk and travels across town to confront somebody, and she's on disability, right? You're 29 years old. you're making hay in the afternoon with somebody, right? I know you're not dead, but if you have enough energy, Mr. Hornsby, to have an afternoon delight, it would seem to me that you could do something like, you know, box candles. Anyway, all right. Listen, I'm perfectly silent. Shh. Your mother finds you cute?
I don't know. You think I'm cute?
No.
What? You have other children?
No.
This is it?
This is it.
You put all your eggs in one basket?
Yes.
Oi! I feel sorry for you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all. Step out.
Oh, you don't get your...
That's case number 431 on the calendar, the matter of Greger versus Yates.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Greger, how many limousines do you have in your fleet?
4 as of right now, Judge.
And how long have you been in the limousine business?
Almost 2 years, Judge.
In the 2 years that you've been in business, how many times has your company taken a fee from a client for damage to the vehicle? Now look at me.
Twice, I believe, Judge.
2 times in addition to this time?
Yes, Judge.
Great. Now, you take a credit card deposit
Yes, Judge.
for any potential damage that occurs during the event. Is that right? You take an imprint of the card? Is that what you do?
The way it works is they'll call and they'll make a reservation, and we'll take $200, and that guarantees that it's a good card. And then if there are any damages after the bus comes back, we notify them and then take our...
Take that out of that credit card?
Yes, Judge.
Did Miss Yates give you a good credit card?
No, Judge, she did not.
Why not?
It was a good credit card, but he said that he
No, just a second. Let's get back to it's a good credit card. You reserved the limousine. It was your party. When you gave him a credit card, was it maxed out?
No, it had the money that was down for the deposit.
Judge, it was a debit card. It wasn't a credit card. She misinformed us and gave us a debit card number, and there was about $215 in that account when we took our $200 deposit, so there was barely enough to cover it.
So let me understand this. This was not a credit card that you gave him?
Yes, it was a credit card. He never informed me that he was going to remove any money when there was damages.
Judge, we called...
Just a second. If there were damage to the car, who did you think was going to pay for it?
I was, but he never informed me that he was going to be taking money out of my card. He called...
Right, but you do understand that if there were damages to the car during your party, that it's your responsibility because you're the one who hired his limousine.
If I was the one who caused the damages,
No,
but I wasn't.
You don't have to be the one that caused the damage. You or anyone involved with your party. How many people were in the limousine?
25.
You or anybody else involved in your party?
Nobody in my party caused damages. It was actually the driver and his
the driver
temper.
that caused
yes,
damages?
Yes, it was.
Explain to me how the driver caused the damages to the car.
Well, it was my 21st birthday, so I was pretty intoxicated.
Miss Yates, what does 21 have to do with getting drunk?
Everybody goes out on their 21st birthday. He was there. He's seen the driver.
Stand still.
Okay.
I'm talking to you. I'm asking what I consider a serious question. I can understand going out and having a good time and having a drink, having 2 drinks, or even having 3 drinks. But what is your 21st birthday? Why should that say to you, I as a woman, I mean, it's bad enough when a guy gets stupid and sloppy and disgusting. But a 21-year-old woman getting drunk is probably the most disgusting picture that I can conjure up in my mind. You think that's funny? It's not funny. It's disgusting. When you lose control of yourself so that you're a fool, 21-year-old guys, we sort of expect it from them, but not from a 21-year-old woman.
I had control, but I knew it was...
Well, you don't have control if you don't remember what happened.
Judge, I was told that she blacked out that night.
I don't care what you were told, and what you were told is hearsay. Don't interrupt.
Yes, Judge.
Do you understand?
I do.
So if you don't remember what happened, you weren't in control, and you were a fool. So you don't know yourself how his driver caused the damage.
I do know.
Do you? How?
I do not. I just don't remember the damage. There was any damages. I knew that there was a fight that broke out outside of the club, outside of the bus.
What do you mean you knew? You mean you saw? You were there?
Yes.
You saw. Well, then you can tell me what you saw.
Okay, there was a fight
through your
that broke out.
inebriated eyes.
Okay, there was a fight that broke out. I guess one of the girls' ex-boyfriends showed up.
Don't tell me what you guess. I'm not interested in what you guess. A fight broke out outside the club.
Yes, and the bus was parked outside of the club.
and the driver was getting really upset. He wanted to leave, and I was like, you can't leave my friends here. Like, we need a ride back.
What do you mean? The driver was getting upset?
He was getting upset that there was a fight taking place outside of the bus.
Just a second. Carefully, Miss Yates. Did the driver say to you, please get everybody, it's not safe here, I want to get out of here?
He was yelling at everybody. And
to get into the bus?
Yes.
And were people listening to him or not listening to him?
They were, but he was also getting physical with them, like pulling people on the bus, and he can testify. He was there.
Would you like me to come up and give a statement?
Depends upon whether or not you want to do that.
I would love to.
I'm ready to hear you. Your last name is?
My last name is Martinez, Judge.
How old are you?
26.
You were at the party?
Yes.
Were you as drunk as she was?
No, absolutely not.
Was she pretty drunk?
Yes. Most of the people there are pretty intoxicated.
And so you've been that route, and now you're 26 and smarter, I assume?
A lot smarter than I was at 21.
Well, maybe you should have a talk with these idiots. Go ahead.
Well, what had happened was a fight had broken out. Somebody's ex-girlfriend was partying with us, and her ex-boyfriend had showed up and wasn't too happy to see her there, intoxicated with a bunch of guys. And a fight had broken out. That fight spilled out into the street.
Okay, so the fight was with the people that were in your party.
Yeah. That turned into a brawl because it spilled out into the street. Of course, friends had friends there, and people started backing each other up, and a big brawl turned out. Well, security was involved in the fighting. They were throwing punches. They were spraying people with mace. There's a lot of commotion going on. The driver did ask everybody to get on the bus. Some of the people that were involved in the fight were fighting. They were trying to get on the bus. Some of the people that weren't even on the bus were trying to get on the bus to continue the fight. So it was hard to decide who was with the party and who wasn't. I feel for the driver because he was just trying to do his job. He was just trying to get out of there, get out of the situation. What had happened too was people were trying to get on the bus that belonged on the bus, and he wasn't letting people on the bus that should have been there. So I remember seeing somebody in the doorway of the bus trying to keep it open because he wanted to leave. He was telling everybody, I'm out of here, I'm not waiting for anybody, we're taking off. And as people were trying to get on the bus, he was trying to close the door, and somebody was holding the door open. I'm not sure who this person was. I barely knew a couple of people there. And he started kicking the door, telling him, get away from my door, get away from the door, kicking it. And the guy backed up, and he tried to close the door again, and somebody grabbed it, threw it open. They dragged somebody all bloody on the bus that had gotten beat up. The person was knocked out, dead cold. I mean, blood all over their face, so that didn't help. So after we did that, most of the people were on the bus. Some people got left there, by the way. He shut the door, proceeded to take off. I was on the bus, she was on the bus, that's all I cared about.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
All right, Miss Yates, ball is in your court. I'll hear you.
About what?
What do you mean about what? You better stop drinking. You can't lose any cells.
And later today,
she got punished because you sold weed. She's out $1,400. You're out zippity-doo.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Limo company owner Stephen Greger says Ashley Yates owes for limo damages as a result of a drunken brawl on her birthday.
Go ahead.
As far as the damages, I was the last person to get off the bus that night because my watch had fallen off in the commotion. I went back to find it. I found it, got a couple other people's cell phones, and got off the bus. And there was no broken windows that I saw. There was no torn up seats. I looked around the bus. And
you did?
Yeah. And we got off, called it a night, went home. Everybody was mad. Somebody took that guy to the hospital.
Is there any blood on the bus?
I think there was a little bit of blood on the floor from the guy's mouth. It was leaking pretty bad.
Any damage to the door where somebody threw it open?
I didn't pay particular attention to the front door, but I did see it being kicked earlier in the commotion, but I didn't pay particular attention to the door. I was more focused on the windows and the seats when I was looking around for watches.
But you didn't see any broken windows?
No.
And you looked?
I looked, yeah.
And you didn't see any ripped up seats?
Definitely not, because I was looking through the seats for cell phones and keys and watches when I was doing that.
Did you look through all of the seats, Mr.
Yes,
Martinez?
all of the seats. I went through the whole circle of the bus.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. You were the driver?
Yes, ma'am.
You quit after this event?
Yes, I did.
That's what I read. How long had you been driving for the plaintiff?
This was my second trip.
Have any trouble your first trip?
None.
Have you driven before?
Yes, ma'am.
For how long?
A number of years. I'm a previous limo company owner in the state of Colorado.
Can you tell me why you quit?
I'm too old for that kind of excitement.
Had nothing to do with the way the plaintiff ran his business?
No, ma'am.
Just the way the evening turned out, you didn't need the aggravation?
Correct.
Got it. Did you inspect the bus before you took off?
Yes, I did.
Did you inspect the bus afterwards?
Yes, I did.
Can you describe the condition of the bus afterwards?
It was extremely dirty inside with spilled alcohol, mixes, juices. The glass holders that are wood affixed to the interior sidewalls had been ripped off. The glass that was in the partition that's on the bottom of the accordion door for entrance and egress was kicked out. And later inspection in daylight, we saw that the bumper had been separated from the chassis of the unit.
Do you have photographs of the interior of the bus?
Yes, Judge. This is the inside before. This is an exterior picture. And then that's the floor and the bumpers and the actual window that's missing.
You did not see how this happened.
One of the party, having been removed from the unit by security of the club, as he exited, was the gentleman who was kicking at the door to try to stop his removal from the unit. When he did exit the bus, he walked to the rear of the bus and jumped up and down on the bumper.
Person, the person who tried to keep the door open?
Yes, ma'am.
And was that a member of her party?
Correct.
All right, Miss Yates. Ball is in your court. I'll hear you. Quickly.
About what?
What do you mean about what? You better stop drinking. You can't lose any cells. You're the defendant in a case.
Well, I didn't cause any of those damages.
Yeah, you didn't. I mean, I don't know whether you did or whether you didn't, but somebody in your party did. Multiple people in your party did. There are bloodstains there. The place is a mess. You're responsible for that. And this gentleman says that somebody from your party was responsible for the exterior damage to the bus as well. You have any defense?
The fight took place off of the bus. It didn't take place on the bus. And I don't think that they caused the outside damages.
Can I have an estimate of the damages, please?
Yes.
Can I add something?
What?
When he called me and told me that there's damages on the bus, he's like, you don't have to drive down here. Just send the money order to this address so you don't have to waste any time driving all the way down here to see the damages.
How much did you pay for the evening, Miss Yates?
I believe it was $700.
$700? For how many hours?
From 9 to 1.
I gave her a good deal, Judge.
Did you tip the driver?
Yes, I did.
How much?
I believe it was 50 or...
How much did you tip you?
$5, Your Honor.
That's not true. Because how
what do you mean you believe it was 50?
Because when we all got on the bus, there was the last people who got on the bus. We went back to my house to pick up one more person, and whatever they paid me for the balance of how much I was paying that night, I gave it straight to him.
All right, fine.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And later today,
we just don't allow that. Now, if you don't understand that, sir, I'm going to get you a tape of this case. You can go home and you can play it on instant replay until you do understand it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Limo company owner Stephen Greger says Ashley Yates owes for limo damages as a result of a drunken brawl on her birthday.
Okay. Originally, I was going to cut your bill, Mr. Greger, $900. Actually, looks to me like at least $900 worth of damage to this bus. She's responsible for it. She's a little ditzy. Don't rent any more property that you can't take care of. Do you understand? If you have drunken friends, keep them in your house. Who do you live with?
My mother.
You live with your mother? Maybe your mother wants to have these 25 drunks in her house. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $900. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We build these buses like tanks. I mean, they have metal floors in them. The framing's 16 inches on center. It's really hard to break these buses.
I've got better things to do than try to damage my own equipment.
Be more careful with who I rent buses from and stuff.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Griffin versus James Evans. Step forward.
Jessica Griffin is suing her ex-boyfriend, Sir Patrick Evans, and his girlfriend, Christina James, for a loan to pay court fines after Sir Patrick was arrested on marijuana charges.
Miss Griffin, this used to be your boyfriend, and you have a child with him. You paid some bail and court fines. You want him to pay you back.
Yes, ma'am.
The only reason that the current girlfriend, Miss James, is involved is she gave you a check at some point for part of the bail, but she wasn't involved in whatever it was that brought him to the attention of the law?
No, ma'am.
Good. You are dismissed. Sit. Hands out of pockets. What did we get arrested for?
Weed possession.
Weed possession.
Intent to sell.
A large amount of weed or a small
No, it was
amount?
a small amount.
Was this the first arrest or not?
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
No tapping. Now, she wasn't involved in your arrest for possession of drugs, was she?
No, ma'am.
It was just you.
Yes, ma'am.
And you had court fines?
In Maryland, they give you a sentence or a fine.
A sentence or a fine?
Yeah, so basically.
Okay, so when you were arrested, she bailed you out.
Yes, ma'am.
And then you had a choice of either paying the fine or doing the time.
Correct. 12 months or $2,000.
See what a fast learner I am in Maryland? And because you had the $2,000 in bond...
They let me go free?
They let you go free. But it wasn't your $2,000. It was her $2,000. Great. That's really... You know, I'm a simple girl. Now, you paid her back some of that money. How much did you pay her back?
I gave her a check.
No, don't look over there.
I gave her a check that I already had from my job, and just recently...
How much was that check?
$300. The $300 was towards the money that I needed to get out. I didn't agree to pay her anything.
Just a second. I don't care whether you did or not. I just want to know how much you gave her back.
$300.
$300. Well, she says you actually gave her $600.
That came from a friend of mine, so that was basically my money plus my friend's money.
So she got back $600, so all she says she's out is $1,400. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, Mr. Evans, this is my point, sir. You committed a crime. The state said to you, you either pay us a fine or you stay in jail. She posted the money for the fine so that you could, in effect, get out of jail. She got back from either you and or your friend $600 of the $2,000. So the only money that she paid in order for you to avoid jail was $1,400.
Right.
And I believe you about all of that. You owe her the $1,400.
How? I never agreed to pay it.
I don't care whether you did or not. Let me try to explain it to you as simplistically as possible. Don't look confused until I'm finished.
I'm definitely confused.
Then you can look confused, Mr. Evans.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Your fine is like your jail time. And just as we don't allow people in this country to pay somebody else to do their jail time, because otherwise you just have a lot of poor people in jail and a lot of rich people who are supposed to be in jail not in jail. That would be fair, right? I mean, let's say you commit a murder and you're really rich and you're sentenced to 30 years. And there's some poor guy who's got 6 kids and he says, well, you know, I'm going to give you $10 million if you go and serve my 30 years for me.
Happened. I've seen it.
You've seen it.
Not witnessed it personally, but I've...
Don't talk to me about, you know, the talk line. Talk to me about only what you've witnessed. We don't do that, at least knowingly in this country, allow other people to serve prison time for us by paying them. We just don't allow that because prison time is supposed to be both rehabilitative and punitive. It's supposed to get punished for doing the wrong thing. So far, the only one that got punished was her. Do you understand? She got punished because you sold weed. She's out $1,400. You're out zippity-doo. So that is unfair and not what the justice system is designed to prevent, which is people replicating their conduct. Now, if you don't understand that, sir, I'm going to get you a tape of this case. You can go home and you can play it on instant replay until you do understand it. In the meantime, you owe her $1,400. Thank you. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Yeah, it's case number 446 on the calendar, the matter of Jones versus Clark.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
How old are you, Miss Jones?
How old am I? 19.
And you?
18.
And what do you do to keep yourself busy?
I go to Youngstown State University and I work at Subway.
And you?
I was formerly working at Walmart. Right now, I'm just looking for a place to stay down in Atlanta, Georgia.
So you're not doing anything?
Not right now.
How many credits do you take, Miss Jones?
14.
Getting reasonable grades?
Yes.
Great. Okay. You used to be friends, now you don't like each other anymore. I don't know why you just can't separate and not like each other, but I guess that's just not the way things are done. So it is your claim that the defendant harasses you and vandalized your car after an incident. Ms. Clark says that actually you harass her. She doesn't have a counterclaim and certainly denies vandalizing your car. You were friends in high school?
Yes.
And I read in your papers that sometime in September of last year, you engaged in a fist fight. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes.
That's smart. And where did the fist fight take place?
My boyfriend's house.
Had you invited her there for a
No.
fist fight? You mean she showed up?
Somebody else invited her, but I didn't invite her.
And when you got there, there was an altercation, and was there a police report?
No.
Was anybody injured?
No.
No, not really.
And then subsequently, in Walmart, were you working in Walmart at
Yes,
the
ma'am,
time?
I was.
You went into Walmart.
Yes.
For what reason?
To go shopping.
Now, Miss Jones, did you know that Miss Clark worked in Walmart?
Yes.
Yes. And that's the only place that you could have shopped?
No.
And when you got there, you saw Miss Clark. What did you do?
I waved at her and I blew a kiss at her.
You waved at her how? And blew a kiss at her?
Yes.
How? And then your friend said something to her?
Yes.
What did your friend say to her?
She asked her about what did the defendant say on Facebook about her.
So it was something negative?
Right.
And your wave and your kiss was also negative?
No.
Baloney. Because after you had had a fight, you hadn't made up after the fight, right?
Right.
So it was a nasty blow-off kiss and wave. Now, on what date did you instigate this problem?
This was November 1st.
And on what day was your car vandalized?
November 1st.
So on November 1st, Miss Clark must have gotten off from work and came to your house.
Right.
Had she contacted you first?
Yes.
Let me hear about it.
Around maybe 10, she called me back to back to back. And
10 p.m.?
Around 10, yes.
What time had you gotten off from work?
10:30.
Why did you start to call her?
Because she had came to my job and asked me when I was getting off. I let her know. She said she would be in the parking lot waiting for me. And I figured I'm not going to back down from this challenge. I'm not going to let her bully me anymore.
Well, you had already had one fight with her in September.
Yes. But being that she keeps harassing me, we decided it wasn't going to be around 3. She lost her contact. Let it go. She took it further. She wants to wave to me, blow kisses, say she's going to meet me in my parking lot at work, which I can't say anything because I don't want to get fired. I don't want my employees to be, what is this mess?
Go ahead.
That is definitely not true. After we fought, the day before we went to Walmart, it was a Halloween party.
Talking about November 1st. Let's get to November 1st.
After she called me back to back to back, just kept calling me, maybe around 11. She called me again, I answered. I heard somebody in the background say, she's not going to come outside, she's not going to come outside. So I said, she might be at my house. So I went downstairs. My father followed me. He heard her screaming my name, saying, come outside, Alexis, come outside. I looked out the window. I seen her with a weapon in her hand. I don't know if it was a bat or a belt. She had a weapon. It was dark. I came outside, was saying, get off my property. My parents came outside, pushed me in the house because they didn't want us to get into another fist fight. My parents proceeded to talk to her and her friends. She had other girls with her.
Who talked to her?
My mother and my father had a conversation with her while I was in the house.
Could you step up, please? Your last name is?
Jones.
Did you have a conversation, Mr. Jones, with Miss Clark that evening?
I didn't have a conversation with her, but I did witness her at our property in our driveway.
So you didn't speak to her?
I didn't speak to her, no.
Go ahead.
My parents were talking to her.
No, your father, they weren't talking to her.
Oh, well, my mother,
I don't
father
know
was
if your
out.
mother was or not, but your parents weren't. You only have one parent here. He said he wasn't talking to her.
My father was talking to me. My father was outside. I was in the house, and
listen to me. Slowly, and only what you remember is true. It's very bad to bring your witness, even if it's your father, and the first thing he does is deny what you're telling me is true. Do you understand?
Yes.
Perfect. Keep going.
My parents came back in the house, and I saw Shakila and her friends walking down the driveway to leave. As they were walking down the driveway, I was looking out the window. Her other friends that were with her went into the car. She was still outside of the car. I heard a loud noise. I didn't witness her do it, but I heard a loud noise. And then my father went outside, and then he saw the window.
Don't tell me what he saw. And Mr. Jones, November 1st, you bring your daughter back into the house.
Yes.
And then what happened?
My wife continued to try to have a conversation with her. I wanted them to get off the property. I didn't care really what happened. I was trying to get them to get off the property. One of the girls that was with her had a weapon in her hand. I didn't know exactly what it was at the time.
So not Miss Clark, one of the other girls.
I'm not saying it wasn't Miss Clark. I was busy keeping her from coming out on the porch with my dog.
Well, you just said to me, Mr. Jones, it was one of the other girls that had a weapon in their hand.
I said there was another girl that was with her that could have had the weapon. She could have had a weapon. I'm not sure who had it. I witnessed the weapon.
But you didn't see it in her hand.
I'm being honest. No, I didn't.
Great. Go ahead.
We got the girls to leave the property. As they were leaving the property, we witnessed them get into the vehicle. So we thought. We went into the house to have a conversation with my daughter to figure out what the story was about, why they came here, what was going on. The next thing I hear is a pop or a crack. I look out the window. I see someone swing at the car, the back of the car. All right, they hop into the back of it was an Expedition, and they drove off.
Now, you said they hopped into the back of an Expedition.
The door.
So you heard a pop, and then you saw how many people hop in the back of the Expedition?
I saw one person.
And it was an Expedition?
It was an Expedition.
Whose car is the Expedition?
My friend's boyfriend, Jabray.
Who was driving the car?
She was, my friend. She's not here right now. She had classes to attend to.
So she was driving?
Yes.
Who else was in the car with you? Just a second. Were you in the car?
Yes.
Step up. Last name?
Belcher.
Where were you sitting in the car?
The back seat of the passenger side.
Back seat?
Of the passenger side.
Who was sitting in the front seat?
My friend's boyfriend.
Friend's boyfriend?
Yes. That was.
So you and the defendant were in the back?
And another person.
Other person's name?
Millie.
Who had something in their hand?
None of us.
Somebody did. Sit.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What kind of heating system do you have in your house?
We have electric furnace.
Oh, that's too bad. Should have coal. Make her put coal in the furnace. Keep her busy. Doesn't have enough to do to keep herself busy.
And later today.
Listen, Lowe.
Yes.
Pay your tickets. You
They're
were
not my tickets.
irresponsible.
I paid $200 to pay for the tickets, and he never did. They accumulated to $400.
I can explain that if need be.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Alexis Jones says former friend Shakila Clark broke out the back window of her car as the result of an argument.
Now, we eliminated the driver and the person sitting in the front passenger seat. So it's either 1, 2, or Millie. Millie's not here, but she knows either she did it or she knows who it was who broke the back windshield of your car. So this is your problem, Miss Clark. Either you or this young lady or Millie busted the window of whose car?
Mine.
Her car. I actually don't care if it was you or not, because it was you or you know who it was. Do you understand?
I understand.
Perfect. So if you didn't do it, you can sue the person who did it, because you're going to pay for it. Because but for you, they wouldn't have gotten to the house. Did you know where she lived?
No.
What?
No.
Stand. Move over there. Who gave directions to the house?
Shaki.
Go. Life is so easy. Sit down.
Your Honor, I have a different story.
You have what?
A different story from what they told you.
She just told me the story. Your witness. Your witness just told me the story. I don't care what brought you to the house. No. What brought you to the house was no good. The only thing I'm interested in is the broken window. There's
Not
no
what brought me to
question
the
that
house.
there's no question that there was a broken window, and there's no question that either you, her, or Millie broke the window. And since you gave directions to get to the house after work, you were going there for absolutely no good. You will pay for the window. That doesn't mean that I like your conduct, because you really started all this mess that day by going in and starting acting disrespectfully after it was over. It was September. You had September or October. It's finished. You started it over again because you don't have enough to do. What kind of heating system do you have in your house?
We have electric furnace.
Oh, that's too bad. Should have coal. Make her put coal in the furnace. Keep her busy. Doesn't have enough to do to keep herself busy, sir. How much was the window?
$180.
Now, when did you get a protective order against Miss Clark?
It was granted November 24th. November 3rd.
And was that a temporary order?
Yes.
Did it expire?
No. Well, it's for a year.
Was she present when you got the order?
Yes. I didn't see her, though.
Were you present when protective order was issued to the plaintiff?
They served me a subpoena to my house. The sheriff came and he gave it to me. I had to go in, for court or whatever, but I never was in contact with her. I never seen her in court.
So you consented to a protective order?
Yes.
So now you got to stay away from her. Got it?
Yes.
And pay her $180 to fix her window. Thank you very much. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
We just fought and everything was done. It was over with.
Because she lost.
But that didn't give her a right to bust out my window, so.
And if I lost, I would still come back 20 times harder also.
Drama.
Me not following through and telling her everything as a best friend would do.
Gossip. He say, she say.
Stuff with me and my boyfriend. Stuff about going on in my everyday life.
It is really ridiculous. Waste of time.
We fell out. We went to different schools. Get over it.
She busted out my window. She got to pay for it.
Hey, I'm going to let her think whatever she wants to so she can sleep at night, okay?
Stay away from her. No contact.
We're going to go our separate ways. She has a restraining order on me. I'm not trying to go to jail,
Stay away from drama. Stay away from her. I'll be fine.
I'm not trying to do the time, But other than that, I'm cool.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Weinstein-Bacall versus Loeb step forward.
24-year-old Max Weinstein-Bacall II is suing his former friend, Jason Loeb, for parking tickets on a van he lent to Jason when his band went on tour.
Is your last name Bacall?
Weinstein-Bacall.
What can I call you for short?
Max.
Max. You loaned your truck to the defendant. Defendant doesn't deny he borrowed the truck, and he doesn't deny that while he was borrowing the truck or van that was used for some sort of band, which I am totally disinterested in, he got parking tickets.
Yes.
You want him to pay the parking tickets.
Yes.
So that we agree on the fact, sir, that you borrowed the van.
I borrowed the van, yes.
We agree on the fact that you got parking tickets while the van was in your possession.
I have not actually seen the parking
Well, let's take care of that right now. Officer Byrd, would you please hand the defendant the tickets, which should have been taken care of before. Let him examine the tickets. Examine the dates of the tickets, sir. Make sure that the van was in your possession or under your control during that time.
This ticket was issued after I'd borrowed the van.
Afterwards?
Yes.
What's the date of the ticket?
August 18th, 2010. I can explain that if need be.
Take that one out, and I'll let you explain that one. Go ahead. What's the next one?
This is just the itinerary from my band for when we had.
Fine. So all those tickets with the exception of this one. And what is the amount of this?
The amount on here is $86.
Okay. He says all the rest are legitimately his responsibility, but for any convoluted defense that he might have, except for the one on August 18th for $86.
Yes.
The ball is in your court.
Well, they had borrowed the van. They returned it to me. I was unaware of any parking tickets, and that one was issued the day after they returned it, and they were supposed to return the van to me at my house where the parking is not zoned, but they parked it about 5 or 6 blocks from my house where it was heavily zoned, high ticket area, and I got the ticket for the amount.
Well, were you advised when the van would be returned?
Yes.
On what date was the van to be returned?
The last day of their tour was the 17th, and the next day was when it was supposed to be returned, the 18th.
Well, did you get a call where it was? What time?
They called and said that they left it at the spot where it was about 5 or 6 blocks from me, and said they left the key under the mat in the unlocked car.
Your Honor, the van, we organized with Max that the van would be returned by my witness, Kristen Southard.
Just tell me, on what date did you return the van?
I didn't return the van myself.
On what date was the van returned?
It was returned after we got back from
Fine.
tour.
The $86 one is yours. Now, yours. Now, you have a defense.
Yes, my defense is that we had a verbal agreement before tour that the van wasn't tour ready, so we needed to get an alternator and a windshield fixed in order to drive the van.
An alternator?
Yes.
And a windshield fixed
Yes, it was cracked. It would have been unsafe to drive it otherwise.
Go ahead,
And so the agreement was the plaintiff decided that he went to the mechanic and had somebody look at it and decide that it
Don't tell me what somebody decided. I want to know your defense.
It was about $600 to fix it, and he agreed that if I paid him $600 that he would let us borrow the van. So I gave him $600
Just a second.
and he didn't have...
Just a second.
Yes.
So in effect, he rented the van to you for $600.
Yes, basically.
Just a second. In effect, he rented it to you for $600.
Except
How
he
long
didn't fix
did you,
the windshield.
Just a second.
Sure.
How long did you have the van?
Roughly 13 or 14 days.
And how much would it have cost you to get a van of that size to go on your tour? How much?
More than that.
Much more than that?
Yes.
So you rented his van for $600.
Yes.
Perfect. What's your defense to these tickets?
Well, he agreed that he would fix the windshield. He didn't have time to fix the windshield and said that he would give me the money back from the $600 that wasn't used. And then when we had found out about the tickets, we had decided that I would give him the $200 in order to pay for the tickets, and then he never used that money to pay for the tickets. He didn't use all that money to fix the alternator and never fix the windshield.
Well, what were you paying to rent the van?
To fix those so that it was tour ready.
I was lending them the van, which was not running at the time. I needed the money to get it running to lend them.
Listen, Low.
Yes.
Pay your tickets. You were
They're not my tickets.
irresponsible.
I paid $200.
They are. No, you
I
didn't.
gave him $200 to pay for the tickets, and he never did. They accumulated to $400 months later. That's
I was
not
never
my
given
fault.
any tickets. I only found out
I
about the
just
tickets.
asked you a question. I said you rented his van for $600. How much money in total did you give him in total? All together. How much money did you give him?
$600.
That's what you rented.
I have the PayPal right here.
That's what you rented the van for, $600. And if you would rented another van, you would have rented another van for much more.
Yes, but
than
we
the
had a verbal
$600.
agreement that he would fix everything.
Listen, how much were your tickets?
$440 total.
$440.
Yeah, but that's months
Judgment for
later
the
after
plaintiff.
all-
Thank you very much. That's all.
Pardon your excuse. You may step out. Yeah, that's case number 484 on the calendar in the matter of Lagasso Brown versus Humphreys. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated, sir. Have a seat, please.
How old are you, Miss Humphreys?
21.
Who's this?
This is Nicholas's father.
His father?
Yeah.
And what relationship do you have with Nicholas's father?
When I lived with them, his father would come over frequently. And after I left their house, I needed a place to stay. So I called him, and he said that he had a room.
You mean the father?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you work?
Yes.
What do you work for?
IBM.
Doing what?
A call center.
How long have you worked for them?
I just started the job at the beginning of last month.
Before that, who did you work for?
McDonald's.
Who else, Miss Humphreys, lives with you and Nicholas's father?
It's just me and him.
You have a romantic relationship
No.
with him?
No.
How long have you known him?
Beginning of May.
Okay. Your last name is?
Lagasso.
Lagasso. How long have you been living in your home, Mr. Lagasso?
Probably a little under a year.
Do you rent or own?
Own.
And you rented a room to Miss Humphreys. She invited a boyfriend over at some point, and the boyfriend invited some people over, and your home got trashed. You want her to be responsible.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that when you threw her out?
No. I'm the owner of the house. My girlfriend Heather is the one that had the communication with her and the conversations. I work a lot, and so I wasn't quite there for everything. I agree with everything, but she'd be the one better to talk to.
Who loaned Miss Humphreys $1,000 to buy a car?
I did, Your Honor.
Why?
At the time, I had checked her credit, her background, everything. I talked to her mom. Everything seemed legitimate. Her job was good, and...
What do you mean her job was good? Who was she working for?
At the time, she had been with McDonald's for more than a few months.
And where does her mother live?
Ocean Shores, Washington.
Is that where you live?
No, it's a whole different state. We live in Wilsonville, Oregon.
What are you doing in Oregon?
I left Ocean Shores to go to PCC, and my dad lives there, and my grandpa lives in Salem.
So why don't you live with them?
They don't have enough room.
I'm sorry, that's not true. She came down chasing a guy.
The same guy that trashed your house?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Is he still around, Miss Humphreys?
No.
Well, you invited him over, is that right?
Yes.
And he's why she moved.
Just a minute. He caused the damage, right?
Yes.
But he was your guest.
Yes.
Then you're responsible.
I don't feel that I'm responsible.
I don't care what you feel. What you feel is totally irrelevant to me. Somebody extended their house to you, and they ended up with a trashed house because of you. If you hadn't invited your boyfriend there, and you hadn't had lack of supervision there, the house wouldn't have gotten trashed. Did you see what the house looked like after your boyfriend left?
Yes, I did.
And?
I don't feel that I'm responsible for it.
I don't care whether you feel you're responsible. I want you to tell me about the destruction that was caused.
There were a couple of holes in the walls.
From what?
He had punched the holes, some of holes in the wall, and then he had thrown me into a wall. And he kicked in my bedroom door because I tried to lock it.
And the graffiti was an accident, too?
Where is he now?
I'm guessing at his grandma's house.
What makes you guess he's at his grandma's house?
Because he likes to be there because he doesn't have to have any responsibilities there.
He's in jail.
When was the last time you saw him?
August.
When did this happen to your house?
July and August.
What do you mean July and August both?
In July, she had a party. In July, she claims she didn't have a party. She claims she just left to go to the store and came back to a party, a raging party.
Okay. And so why didn't you throw her out in July?
According to what I had found out, the tenant-landlord laws in Oregon, we had to give her the opportunity to rectify the damage, fix the problem. And so we did. And she agreed to pay for the damages. She set up, she paid a down payment of $100 and set up basically adding $200 to her rent every month. And then she wanted to sign a year lease to sort of give us the proof that she would be.
And then what happened in August?
Well, in July, we told her, sorry, the loser can't come back. And I also did the research and found out I had every right to trespass him from the property. And we did officially. We served her and him both with paperwork. I told him not to come back.
Very smart for you to invite her into your house. 3 A's you get for that, for judgment. Yeah, go ahead.
We told her, he can't come back. She seemed to really respond to that. Oh, I don't want him in my life. Not even 3 weeks later, we both came home from work on the first week of August. Everything was gone from her room. She had posters up on the wall that, when we pulled down, revealed more damage. Carpet.
I'd like to see the damage.
Yes, ma'am.
What prompted you to invite her into your house? Stand over there. Go ahead.
Your Honor, I just want this issue dealt with.
What prompted you to invite Miss Humphreys to live in your house?
Because she offered to pay me rent, and I wanted her out of there.
Keep going.
I want her out of their lives so there's no more turmoil between the two of them.
There's no more turmoil. Why would there be turmoil with them?
She still feels a little anguish against them.
She feels what?
She feels angry against them for coming after her for the money that her friend made.
I'm asking you why this is a stranger to you, unless you got friendlier when she was living there that I don't know about.
No, ma'am.
There are a lot of people out there, if you wanted to rent a room. Why would you rent a room with somebody that trashed your son's home and that left owing him $1,000? Why would you want to do that?
I felt she needed a place to stay. I felt sorry for her.
Been there.
Sit.
She's really good at that. See, like, I'm innocent.
No, listen to me.
Feel sorry for me.
Listen to me. She could say, feel sorry for me. How old are you?
46.
46. Pushing 50. 46
I
pushing
can't
50
argue.
doesn't feel sorry for this.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You don't look healthy. 21-year-old girls are supposed to look the best of their whole life. You can either grow old and make yourself the hero of your own story, or you can be washed out when you're 30 and look like a piece of garbage.
And later today,
My good friend Alan Alda wrote a book about that. His parents thought they were doing him a favor when they had his dog stuffed. It scared the hell out of him for most of his childhood. I'm telling you, I'm not so sure it's a great idea.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Nicholas Lagasso and Heather Brown claim former tenant Samantha Humphreys owes for an unpaid loan and for damage to the home caused by her ex-boyfriend.
All right. Nice.
As you can see, those aren't just punching holes in the walls.
No. What's he in jail for? Is not an answer.
She doesn't know.
I really don't know. I haven't talked to him since August.
We just looked up the jail roster before we left, and he was on it.
Well, what would make you think he was at his grandma's house?
Because that's where he loves to be.
Well, you caused the problem. You invited the guest. The guest was uncontrolled, and you invited him not once, you invited him twice. Did you have him arrested for domestic violence?
No, ma'am.
Well, he punched you. He threw you into a wall. You don't understand that?
I didn't press charges.
You should go home. You're not ready to be out. Lots of things look like they happened to you, but you're not ready to be out. Can you go home?
At this time, I could, but I like the city better. There's more opportunities out there.
I don't think that's...
And I have a good job at IBM, $10 an hour. I don't want to lose that job.
Her mom disagrees with that.
You've made, at a young age, some very bad choices, Miss Humphries. You don't look healthy. 21-year-old girls are supposed to look the best of their whole life. You look like you're struggling. I don't know what's going on in your life, but you can either grow old and make yourself the hero of your own story, or you can be washed out when you're 30 and look like a piece of garbage. You keep making bad choices, long-term bad choices. So you think twice about whether or not you go home and get healthy before you do anything else. Now, you have an estimate for fixing up the house?
Yes, ma'am. Total damages $22.49.
Do you still have the car that you purchased with the down payment from them?
No, it got repossessed.
How much did you spend on a car?
I can't really remember. Somewhere around 13.
She didn't pay attention.
I went on Craigslist.
Go home.
Okay.
$2,249 for the repairs to their house, another $1,000 that this young lady loaned you for the car. It's $3,249. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I don't think that she should have awarded them that money.
Glad to see it settled. I just want to go home and, fix my house.
He was the one that put the holes in the wall, the damages, so I don't feel that they should have gotten that money.
The damages were outrageous.
It wasn't my fault that he had put the holes in the wall.
I'm a young guy too, and I don't, I treat my stuff and other people's stuff with respect. I don't see how anybody could do that.
I told his friends to get out because they were drinking in the house, and he got mad at me and just went off.
She may be the kind of girl that is influenced by men and influenced enough to let him beat her.
A friendship that I lost because my boyfriend did all these damages.
Same thing, the friendship. I mean, she's a sweet girl. She just needs a little guidance.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Murphy versus Gray. Step forward.
Pam Murphy is suing taxidermist Danny Gray for the return of money she paid to have her late Pomeranian stuffed. Pam says Danny never completed the job.
Miss Murphy, you had a pet that you were very attached to. What kind of a dog was it?
A Pomeranian.
And it was a female. When she was ill, sort of towards the end of her life, you had trying to make arrangements for her to, I don't know what the taxidermist does, what you call it.
I was going to have her stuffed.
Stuffed. And you contacted Mr. Gray. You paid him in advance $300 for his services. When your dog passed away, Mr. Gray took possession of the dog, and you want your money back because he did not perform the services that he was supposed to. And in addition, you want some money for pain and suffering because you say that you can't have her stuffed anymore because of the way she was kept.
Yes, Your Honor.
What did you do with her, ultimately?
Right now, she's in my freezer. I'm going to have her cremated, and I've got to get an urn and all that. I haven't done that yet.
Yeah. And when do you plan on doing that?
When I get back.
I did that.
I kept her because the reason being is because I knew that I was going to take him to court. I had another taxidermist come to my home and evaluate her present condition, of which I have for you, just so we know where we started and where we are today.
Do you have your own, Miss Murphy? Do you have your own home?
Yes, ma'am.
Does the law permit you to have her buried on your property?
I don't know that.
What you plan on doing is having her cremated.
Yes, ma'am.
That's a good idea. I know. I just lost one. I'm not sure whether I would want to see her around every day.
Well, I initially wanted to have her stuffed, and he was going to get a flex. He had a flex form for her, and I was going to let her.
I understand what you want.
Yeah.
What you had wanted. I'm not so sure that's a great idea.
I know it's out there. Yes.
I just don't think it's a great idea. My good friend Alan Alda wrote a book about that. His parents thought they were doing him a favor when they had his dog stuffed. It scared the hell out of him for most of his childhood. So, I'm telling you, I'm not so sure it's a great idea.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I want to know, other than thinking, what did you do?
I just got all the information together.
So the answer is you did a lot of thinking.
A lot of thinking.
Danny Gray cheated her out of the money she'd paid to have her Pomeranian stuffed. Danny is countersuing for defamation of character.
Okay. Do you have another dog?
I do now, yes.
What kind of dog do you have?
Same, a Pomeranian.
Pomeranian. A puppy?
She is. She's a pocket blue merle.
Okay. All right. You'll fall in love again.
I know.
All right, Mr. Gray. You didn't do your job.
I need a little more time on her request. It was a very unusual request.
All right. Well, did you tell her she was a very unusual request when you took her $300?
Well, at that time, she didn't have everything in detail.
That's not what I'm asking you, sir. Did you tell her when you took her $300 that it was a very unusual request?
Yes, I did.
Did he tell you it was unusual?
No, he did not.
No, because
He
Mr.
said
Gray,
he was happy
even
to do
according to your answer, sir, you said, I had a lot of other things going on at that time in my life. Stressors. You were taking care of an ailing mother, you were moving your business, you were doing lots of other stuff, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. You know, you have a certain amount of sympathy for that from one human being to another, but that doesn't mean that Miss Murphy's not entitled to her money back. You didn't do any work for it.
Yes, I did. Here's a drawing. I had to sketch it out in order to make an animal move.
Other than the sketch, what did you do?
Well, I had to thaw it out and take all the dimensions, measurements.
Yeah, I know your thinking process takes a very long time, sir.
The actual mounting process,
you do?
The mounting process was not going to take place until I got the form constructed.
Just a second. Did you have the form constructed?
No, I haven't had it completed.
I want to know, other than thinking, what did you do? The answer is either nothing, or I built something, or I started to build something. I have pictures of what I started to build that I can show you, Judge.
I just got all the information together.
So the answer is you did a lot of thinking.
A lot of thinking.
Unfortunately, sir, in your business, you don't get paid for thinking. You get paid for doing.
It takes a lot of time to get all the information together.
Listen to me, sir. Doesn't take any time. You had the body of her pet in your freezer. Now, when did you put your thought process to that drawing that you were dying to show me?
The minute she started telling me she wanted to be able to be moved in different positions, the whole thing had to be tanned. It's not a standard process.
So what I'm asking you is, are you telling me that as soon as you saw the plaintiff, you thought about it and you made that drawing?
I didn't make that drawing at that time.
Just a second. You know, he's not going to get over me. It's not going to happen. You didn't do your job. You had other things going on in your life, and this took a back burner. You have to give her money back. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Want justice? Go to judgejudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Now.
And Your Honor, may I say something?
What?
When she came on my property to get her dog, I had a customer there, and she was running my customers off, telling them to get their money back.
Just a second, Mr. Gray. Shh. She's a dissatisfied customer. Now we're going to get to your countersuit, sir. Your countersuit says that she posted defamatory things about you, and you lost customers.
Yep.
And I'm still going to be losing them.
Listen, sir. You tell me what she said that was not true.
Me ripping people off. I have never ripped a person off.
Just listen to me.
Not one.
Listen to me. Did she ask you for her money back?
Yes, she did.
Just listen. Miss Murphy, I can really take care of myself. It's not a difficult case.
Yes, ma'am.
When she asked you for your money back, did you give her money back?
No, I didn't have it at the time.
Well, that's your problem. Then you ripped her off. Then you didn't do your job, you took her money, and you ripped her off. So if your counterclaim has to do with the fact that she defamed you by telling your customers that you ripped her off, in her mind, and actually, based upon what you tell me, that's what you did. Now, if you said, I didn't do my job, and when she came and I gave her pet back and I said, I'm sorry, I didn't do my job, here's you $300. And then she wrote, you ripped her off, maybe we would have a discussion. But if your response to me is, I spent her money and I didn't do the job, then you ripped her off.
I think my time's worth something. I spent a lot, took a couple of hours on this measurement process. And it has to be done
I don't
before
believe you,
anything
sir.
else has to be done.
Don't believe you. You have any way of proving to me that that drawing was done 6 months ago?
No, ma'am.
That's what I'm saying to you, Mr. Gray. Now we understand each other. You took her $300. You didn't do the job. When she asked for her $300 back, you said, I spent it. She gets her $300 and you count the claims dismissed. Thank you very much. That's all.
Parties excused, Ms.
Judge, what about the punitive?
Yeah. No, listen to me. That's not happening.
Okay.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Yes, case number 161 on the calendar in the matter of Zaluki versus Birch.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
Mr. Zaluki, the defendant was a roommate in your condo apartment.
Yes, Your Honor.
And she moved out 2 months prior to the termination of the lease. You want your money.
Roger.
And you also were requesting some money for property damage that her dog allegedly did in the house. Miss Birch acknowledges she moved out prior to the termination of her lease.
Correct.
She says several things, however. She says that you moved an army of people into the house during the time she was a tenant in the house. She had every reason to leave. And she is counterclaiming because she says that somebody did something very nasty to her dog. So let's have a few questions to you, Mr. Zaluki. First of all, where was this apartment?
Your Honor, it was North Hollywood.
When did you sign a lease?
It was July 1st of 2009, Your Honor.
And how did you meet the defendant?
Your Honor, I actually have known Nicole for quite some time now.
From where?
We used to work together
Where?
TGI Fridays in Kansas.
How long have you known her?
I've known Nicole for almost 6 years now, Your Honor.
Did you come out to California together?
No, we did not.
Who came first?
I came out here first, Your Honor.
And she came out afterwards and moved into your apartment?
Yes, that's correct.
How many people were in the apartment at the time?
Your Honor, to be more specific about the situation, I was living in a 2-bedroom apartment with one of my roommates, Greg. At one point, Nicole came to visit us to kind of, get a feel for how California was to see if she really wanted to move out. At that point, she, acknowledged that she would want to move in with us. So
you took a larger apartment?
Yes, Your Honor.
Great. You took a 3-bedroom?
Yes, Your Honor.
And all 3 of you were on the lease?
Yes, Your Honor.
When did your girlfriend move in?
Your Honor, she moved in officially, and she's my wife, actually.
When did she move in?
February of 2010.
When did she start staying there?
She started staying there in November of 2009. On and off when she came to visit from her home country.
From her own what?
Home country, Your Honor. She's from Poland.
So she started staying with you in November of 2009.
That's correct.
Now, did she share a room with you?
Yes, she
shared your room with you.
Yes.
Did she pay any additional rent?
Negative.
The answer is negative.
Okay.
So you had another person living in the house, and you were still splitting the rent 3 ways.
Yes, correct.
Now, who was this other person who was crashing on the couch, Miss Birch?
That would be Matt's friend Joe.
And why was he crashing on your couch?
Your Honor, back when we were in the 2-bedroom apartment, he lost his job and didn't have a place to stay. So out of kindness of my heart and my other roommate, we decided to give him a place to stay until he got back on his feet and got a new job. At that point, it did transfer over to the 3-bedroom.
What does that mean, it transferred over to the 3-bedroom?
That he was still with us at the point when we went to the 3-bedroom. So when Nicole moved into the 3-bedroom, Your Honor, he was still there.
And you're still splitting the rent 3 ways?
Correct. And the agreement that we had with Joe was that because he had scarce money, he was on unemployment, so he would either help out with food, occasionally he'd help out with occasional money. So if we had utilities or any other bills, I would pay them with Joe's money, and then the remaining amount would get dispersed 3 ways.
So far, you moved 2 extra people into an apartment where there was supposed to be only 3 people, Mr. Zaluki.
Absolutely. And, Your Honor, and Nicole was fully knowledgeable about Joe at that time, and she had no problems with him. She was actually pretty good friends with him.
Whose friend was he?
He originally was me and Greg, the other roommate's friend.
Right. He came with you.
Yes, correct.
He came, according to you, as a package. When did you move out, Miss Birch?
March 14th of 2010.
Tell me why.
Well, first, to start off, yes, there were too many people living in the house. At that point, Joe had moved out, but he'd lived there 8.5 months. I was not okay, by the way, with him living there. And when I voiced my opinion, there was nothing that they would do to appease me. And Joe was paying $400 a month. I never saw a dime of that money, and my rent was not reduced because of it. Then on top of that, the big thing was with my dog. I know Tootsie, my dog, Cocker Spaniel, did damage to the carpet, which I paid after I'd moved out. I paid him $250, which covered more than what it cost him to clean the carpet. I paid him extra in case he had to paint my room or something like that. And I also paid all of April so that he'd have enough notice. So I gave him pretty much 45 days
So
notice.
you moved out March 14th.
Correct.
And you paid March's rent and April's rent.
Correct.
Tell me why you moved out.
Okay. At that point, it was more a matter of it felt like a ship was going down. Our utilities, as far as what I would pay utilities, I would pay the amount he asked me to pay, and the cable would still get shut off, or the gas would get shut off, even though I'd given him the full amount that he asked. None of Joe's money was going towards any of that. Greg was late on rent. Out of the 9.5 months that I lived there, we received 7 3-day notices of eviction.
Why is that, Mr. Zaluki?
Your Honor, ultimately it comes down to our third roommate was always late.
When did Miss Birch tell you that she was leaving?
I'd say the second week of February. Nicole came to me saying that she was unhappy with the living situation.
What was she unhappy with?
She was unhappy about the fact that Greg was always late on rent, and we always kept getting a 3-day notice.
Right.
And she was nervous about that.
So Miss Birch came to you and said, I'm unhappy with you and your friend Greg.
Yes, correct.
And a whole bunch of other things, because by that time your girlfriend is now living with you full time and not paying any rent.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Joe is at this point just leaving.
Yes, Your Honor.
But he's been there 8.5 months.
Yes, Your Honor.
And all you guys and your girlfriend can't get your rent together on time. Was her rent ever late?
Mine and hers were.
No, hers.
No, Your Honor.
And where's Greg?
Greg, well...
Yep. You're not going to be able, Mr. Zaluki, to think fast enough for me.
Yes.
Where is Greg?
Currently, Your Honor?
Yes.
He is, I'm not sure. He moved out
When?
July 1st.
And are you currently living in the apartment with just your wife?
No, Your Honor.
Who lives there?
No one, Your Honor. I gave up the apartment, fixed everything, cleaned up, and returned it to the
when
landlord.
you moved out of the apartment, how many people were living there?
It was just me, Your Honor, my wife, and Greg.
That's 3 people.
Yes, Your Honor.
3 people to share the rent.
2 people, Your Honor.
No, 3.
Okay.
At your choice.
Yes, Your Honor.
She moved into an apartment, sir, with 3 people.
Yes, Your Honor.
3 people on the lease. 5 people lived there at various times.
Yes, Your Honor.
She doesn't have to tolerate that.
I understand that, Your Honor, but ultimately she knew about that. She agreed to it. When she moved in, she never had a problem with that.
I want to tell you something, sir.
Yes.
She didn't agree to have your girlfriend there. You brought her. I want to ask if you had a powwow and said, I would like my girlfriend to come and live with us. She is not going to pay any rent. And is that okay with you?
Your Honor, I did have that conversation. I sat down with all the roommates and told them, this is what's going on.
Not told them. I didn't ask you whether you told them.
I did ask them what they thought about it. They all liked Dorothy very much. They were actually really good friends. Dorothy asked Nicole if she could be her maid of honor, which she agreed. So there was no problems whatsoever within the household.
Well, there must have been a problem, sir. You told me that she came to you in February and told you she wanted to leave.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You and your friend, the moron who maybe slept on the couch or somebody else, ever give her dog alcohol?
Negative, Your Honor.
And later today.
Listen to me carefully, Miss Cornelius. You lied to me. I didn't lie to you. Yes, you did. You lied to me in your complaint. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. You may say no. I'm going to have the last word. I'm telling you that you did.
Former roommate Nicole Birch broke their lease. Nicole says she had every right to do so. She is countersuing, claiming someone in the apartment fed alcohol to her dog.
Now, she didn't want to leave because of anything other than there were a whole bunch of financially irresponsible people.
Yes, absolutely.
You had Joe sacking out on the couch because he wasn't working. You had your girlfriend coming over from Europe. She wasn't working. You had your friend Gregory, who was living with you and not paying his rent on time.
Yes.
And you had her, who was getting a 3-day eviction notice every month.
And, Your Honor, I took that burden upon myself,
I know.
and I took care of it. She never paid any extra out of pocket. I took care of it. We were never evicted.
You don't have to be evicted, sir. It goes down on your credit. You're late on a car payment. You're late on your rent. All that stuff accumulates, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
You lived there with 3 people the last 2 months of your lease.
Yes.
You, Greg, and your fiancé/wife.
Yes, Your Honor.
Pay your own rent.
I agree, Your Honor. And I did
Good.
pay my own rent.
Perfect. Pay your own rent.
Yes.
For the apartment.
For the apartment?
She's not paying anymore.
Your Honor, we had an agreement.
Mr. Zaluki, pay careful attention to me.
Yes.
She's not paying anymore. Now we're going to get to the dog damage. Did she give you $250 to clean the carpet?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Can I see proof that you gave him $250 for any damage that your dog did to the carpet?
It shows that I transferred it to his account after I moved out.
See it. By the way, Mr. Zaluki, did she pay April's rent?
Your Honor, she did not pay full April's rent.
That requires a yes or a no.
No, Your Honor.
You have proof that you paid April's rent?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it, please. How much was her rent?
$833, Your Honor.
She paid it on April 2nd. And she paid you $250 on May 7th to clean the carpet. Now I'm going to get to your counterclaim. Did you and your friend, the moron who maybe slept on the couch or somebody else, ever give her dog alcohol?
Negative, Your Honor.
Do you have a dog?
I do have a dog, Your Honor.
What kind of a dog do you
It's a
have?
Corgi Terrier.
Is there only one dog in the house?
At the time when we were living with Nicole, yes. When Dorothy moved in February, there was another dog.
Was there a pet deposit that you had to put down with your landlord?
Yes.
For whose dog? No. When you signed the lease, who had a dog?
When we signed the lease, Nicole had a dog.
And you put down a pet deposit?
Yes.
How much?
$250.
So is what you're telling me, that pet deposit was still on the books when your girlfriend moved in with her dog?
Yes, correct.
You got a lot of nerve.
Your Honor,
I don't know. I'm not listening. That's a statement, sir, which did not require an answer.
Okay.
Now, your counterclaim says that your dog got sick. You took the dog to the vet. The vet report is going to indicate that somebody fed the dog some sort of alcohol.
Or, yeah, poison. That's what
I'd like to see it.
It's just all I have was the receipt.
Well, that's not good enough for me.
Okay.
Because anything else that you have to tell me is hearsay.
It does show that they gave her Toxaban, though, the charcoal.
If you had a medical report, I would read it.
Okay.
But you don't have a medical report, so I can't just look at that and then you tell me that the dog was sick and somebody told you that the dog had been fed some sort of a toxic material. Mr. Zaluki, I hope you're happy with your wife. She doesn't owe you any money.
Your Honor.
Case is dismissed.
Your Honor.
That's all.
Please excuse me. Step out.
I'm the type of person that if there's 10 people living there, that's fine.
You know, I paid money to be a friend and help the situation out.
But I'm not paying a third of the rent if 10 people are living there.
So people actually have a home, and
I think everything fell apart around September. That's when we had our first 3-day notice of eviction.
other people are, can't live up to their responsibilities.
And that was the first huge red flag and everything.
जी तो गाइस कैसे हैं आप? आज हमारे पास है नाशपाती और आज इसमें हम कलर भरेंगे. हमारे साथ रहिएगा. चलें शुरू करते हैं.
Speed.
जी तो गाइज आज के हमारा कलर पूरा हो चुका है। अगर हमारी वीडियो आपको अच्छी लगी तो लाइक, सब्सक्राइब एंड शेयर लाजमी कीजिएगा।